What do I say? Let's zoom in a little, because then, you know, you have to put it on my face a bit more. That's better. Cool. One Punch Man 106, A Clash of Power, was a very good chapter. A lot of surprises, and I've been saying, like, I think that they haven't I feel like they've tried not to waste time recently with these chapters, so we've obviously, you know, I think mostly because the Phoenix Man fight went through so much, I feel like, okay, I'm ready to go see what the others are doing, and now the pace is ridiculous, and I love it, and I'm concerned, but I'm not concerned, because I love it. Why did I say I was concerned? I'm not concerned at all, I'm sorry if I lied to you. Chapter starts off with Puri Puri Prisoner, and he's basically decided not to go after Elder Niam, what I'm saying, go after Niam, because in his mind, and it makes sense with his character at the very least, because he's obviously gone and said, I'm not worried, because as he sees himself, like, he's the lowest of the S-Class heroes, and he still sees himself as an average person in comparison to the other S-Class heroes. So he's like, you know what? If he goes after someone, I'm not too worried, and I'll carry on doing my own thing, because he's just going to end up with a more difficult opponent. I was his best fight, and he's read me wrong on this side. And then, so Puri Puri's off doing his own thing, so he can show up as a surprise later on, or maybe he'll go fight someone else, we don't know. I'm ready to, but yes, I think that wraps up, okay, so Puri Puri's a bit of a wild card. So basically, good thing about this kind of maze-like structure is we don't know where everyone's going to be, and when they'll show up in different fights, because someone could show up late to a fight, or at the beginning of a fight, people could converge at the same time to fight someone. Who knows? Then we finally get to see what Darkshine does. And I'll just go over the whole thing, because of course they start their fight, and we go into their fight halfway in comparison to other ones, like, who we get to see, like, the start of the fight and, like, that bit of build-up, but in comparison, I suppose, to the other opponents, we already know the gist of what Bug God can do, because he is this, obviously, you know, he's super defensive and physically built, as we saw with his fight against Garo, with him and Raw Ripper teaming up against Garo, so it's not like a stretch. It's not like we have to go through the introductions of what this guy can do in comparison to the others. But Darkshine was very interesting. First of all, I think his goal as a hero it's unique. I get where he's coming from. It's just a bit strange for him to go, you know, when I heard that you described yourself as the pinnacle of all insects, you know, you are very close to my goal of becoming like an insect myself, you know, and it is a weird goal to have, I'm not gonna lie, but obviously the characters of One Punch Man are weird, and we don't know a lot about Darkshine, but it makes sense at the same time because of how impressive bugs actually are, because obviously cockroaches can survive nuclear explosions, ants are 100 times strong, can lift up 100 times their own weight. Stuff like that is very impressive, so maybe that's where Darkshine is going with himself, because he, as you know, as we see, you know, it makes sense with his defenses of cockroach, like the cockroach-like defenses he has, as well as, like, you know, maybe his feats of strength that he wants to achieve too. Basically, he wants to be this great person, and he's mirroring bugs in that sense. And he said about the like how discouraged he felt to hear that, like, a bug, like a monster, had reached that kind of level of power first, and then he makes it very clear, like, you've reached my expectations unfathomably low. And he's just like saying, you are no match for me. And then, like, as Bug God starts to go on his rant, he's like, it won't do! And he gets angry, right? He's angry that this guy has built himself up so much and has been such a letdown. So obviously he goes on to talk about the 3 heroes you should never, ever anger. And we get that great panel of King to start off with, like, when his King engine roars, all the evil gets wiped out in an instant. And then you got Tatsumaki looking super angry, which we never really see, like, that kind of level of intensity. She gets annoyed a lot, but never that kind of aggression. And I just loved his, and, like, you know, and it's just that bit of him going, like, you know, oh, and the one and only Darkshine, that's me. You should never get me angry, because my muscles shine in the darkest night, or something like that. Nothing like that, but I'm kind of wasting time. Basically, Darkshine is incredibly impressive. He's just insane. Genuinely one of the strongest S-Class heroes as far as I can see. And not, I take that from his feats, and what he says, but, like, I'm not saying obviously that I don't want to disencourage what the other S-Class heroes can do, because they are fantastic, they've all shown what they can do and it's incredible. However, I would say just Darkshine, as he makes it clear, you know, you should never anger me, and maybe it's in a tier kind of way, because he sees King as number 1 and Tatsumaki as number 2, so himself, does he see himself as the 3rd strongest of the S-Class heroes, or in the actual case, the 2nd strongest of the S-Class heroes? Who knows, because obviously we haven't seen Blastman after out of the heroes we've seen. Any case, obviously, you know, Bug God doesn't take kindly to that because of, you know, he feels insulting, and Bug God has a reason to brag more than anything, because obviously with his history, like, you know, he's like, well, the hero hunter Gyoro who used to suppress couldn't even damage me, and we know he's gone through a lot, but it was true, like, when Gyoro was going up with the water stream, water throne rock crushing fist, wasn't doing anything to Bug God at all. Then, as we learn, Bug God was actually able to power up even further, and he has this big hulking form, and, you know, one of my favourite things about this whole chapter was when they were, just before their fighting stance, where Bug God's like, yeah, and then Darkshine's just posing with his, like, posing with his muscles. It's so good. I love his fighting stance in that sense. And obviously Bug God goes to rush him, but what was really impressive was just the, and that's it. Or that, either way, he basically, as far as I can tell, didn't even punch him, he slapped the demon out the way. And this is why I'm honestly, like, so impressed with Bug God, like, with Darkshine, because obviously, you know, Destro cleared him, you know, he went after him, gave him the clap, he did. And, like, obviously Bug God's going after him, he gave him the slap. It's mostly because of how the feats of Bug God we already know. Like, obviously he was going toe-to-toe with Gyoro, and, like, obviously Royal Ripper was there too, but he was holding his own against Gyoro. Maybe Gyoro would have won, we don't know, because that fight never got a proper conclusion, because of Sludge Jellyfish getting in the way, but his feats were impressive, and especially his defensive feats. So the fact that Darkshine, without any trouble at all, blasted through these defenses of his, not only speaking about his own defensive power, taking all those hits without a scratch, but also his offensive power. It's weird, because the day before the chapter came out, maybe that's why I started watching it, because Darkshine was in the back of my mind, but I started watching Luke Cage, and that's a really good show, and Darkshine is like Luke Cage times 200 at this rate. He's just insane. And I'm ready to see what he can do, and as he said before, you know, he doesn't know the limits of his own defense. He doesn't know anything that can actually pierce his skin, and I'm ready to see what goes on with this, and maybe that is going to be the conclusion to this Gyoro, Bug God, Darkshine comparison, is Gyoro, when he fully monstifies, is going to be the one to pierce through his skin. Meanwhile, a fight starts between an executive and someone, and something's going on, and it turns out to be Rover. And a bit of context for this bit: when I first read the chapter, it was 6:20 in the morning. I'd been awake for 5 minutes, and I didn't really realise what was going on until I flipped a couple pages. I was like, oh wow, Rover's going to fight someone, I wonder who's going to fight. As I was reading through the pages, and I was like, then that moment hit me, I was like, he's fighting! So Rover had a fight with Saitama. This is the way to throw everyone off, because I know from me personally, and I know a few people as well, we were trying to guess who the executives are going to fight amongst the S-class heroes, you know, who's going to fight who. And Rover, obviously we've seen his feats before, and maybe I should have done this because I know my own rule with Saitama. So I'll explain that as I go on. So, obviously, Saitama, he's like, first the streakers and now this dog. What did they feed you to get this big? As he dodges the punches and the hits, and he knocks him out. And knocks him out is the key word there. But I should have seen this coming, because more than anything, anytime we see a monster, we see their feats, I guess, already. Like, we saw what Rover can do. We saw, like, how strong he was. We saw, like, what kind of attacks he could use. Obviously, he was physical, but those heat blasts as well. We saw this all before. We knew about this. And whenever this kind of happens and there's a big threat built up, it's always then that Saitama shows up to punch them and defeat them. You know, like, he never stroked. Like, that's just how it goes. If you look at previous fights, it's like Deep Sea King, Goketsu to some extent as well, Elder Centipede, vice versa. You look back, that's just how it's worked on and on. So I should have seen this kind of thing coming, and I loved it that I didn't see it coming. It's the best thing when you don't predict where it's going to go, but you still enjoy it, and I was just like, why is he doing this? And then, okay, let's talk about Sit. Let's talk about Sit. Everyone's going to talk about Sit, so I'm going to talk about Sit. So another great comparison between the strength of Saitama and Gyoro is Gyoro, with all of his strength before when he fought Rover, said sit, boom, launched the punch, and Rover just shook it off. Saitama, not even really trying, just giving a dog telling him to sit. Not only did that punch knock out Rover, but it shattered, but it didn't shatter, it shattered a chunk of the Monster Association, but it also destroyed, like, an earthquake was felt around the area. Now, I feel like, the more I've been thinking about this, there's obviously been strength comparisons between Saitama and Gyoro in the past, obviously through their constant encounters, without knowing who they really are to each other, and overall, I think this might build up to something bigger in the future, so obviously, whenever Goro and Saitama had their fight, because he knows, as I remember the other day, Goro has some idea of who Saitama is. And I think maybe, like, as his memory goes back, maybe this will be an interesting way to take their fight, is if Goro actually realizes he is outclassed thoroughly. Like, in every strength. Like, strength, speed, every aspect of it, he is outclassed. And that might be something they do in the future. Who knows? But I'm a bit confused as to why Rover was left alive. The only thing I can think of is because Saitama constantly compares him to a dog. He literally calls him a dog the whole time, right? Personally, I know people think Saitama's an idiot. I have always been on the opinion that Saitama is not an idiot. I do not think he's a genius by any stretch of the imagination. The smartest thing he is obviously, like, you know, his simplicity leads to, like, you know, very good answers to things. But most of all, I just think he's of average intelligence. I don't think he's, like, a genius. But when he does stuff like this, and the only answer I can think of is he genuinely thought Rover was just a big dog and for some reason could shoot fire blasts. Boy, I love you. You don't make it easy for me to defend you like this in terms of knowledge. But I just... The moment was so good that throughout the workday, whenever I'd have a moment of peace, I was like, so Saitama just knocked out Rover. And, like, who knows where it's going to go in the future, so maybe Rover could have another fight, and Saitama, like, you know, Saitama's weakened him, so it makes it more plausible for another S-Class hero. Maybe an S-Class hero could solo Rover now? Who knows, but, like, who knows, basically, I don't know what's going to happen. Of course, the earthquake was felt, and, like, obviously a pinnacle of strength we should take a look at is, obviously, you know, Saitama's strength alone was enough, obviously, to shake the whole area, and everyone took notice of it, except for Homeless Emperor was the only one I was surprised about. So maybe... obviously we can't really rank. To me, I've always thought, like, the way to rank a strength in One Punch Man is how simply they've been drawn, so that's why I was like, okay, Black Sperm, I was really ready to see how strong he was, because of how simply he was drawn. But Homeless Emperor was the only one who didn't care about the shockwave at all, about the earthquake. He just, like, everyone else stopped and turned and took a look around, or at least took notice of it, but Homeless Emperor was like, So maybe he's the strongest of the executives, if we look at it like that. Maybe just because it's like a classic trope of, like, you know, everyone's like, whoa, this power is really powerful. Obviously the really strong guys like, that's nothing. Of course, as we see time and time again with Saitama. But Nian sees it as well. He's like, he just took out Rover with one punch. And then he's like, hasn't noticed me, and then he just goes, feeling retribution. I just love that panel so much of Saitama just going, after the dog comes the cat. And just, he's like, he's just done. He's like, you try to get me? You try? And Nian's like, fuck this. And he just bolts out of there. Who knows what's going to happen to Nian now? Maybe he stays within the association, maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But he's like, I'm not risking my life if this guy can beat him in one punch. I imagine Nian's going to run into someone else. And who knows what will happen from here, but... It's what Saitama does best. It's what One Punch Man is traditionally known for. Just flipping the whole thing on its head. And then of course, we get the ending with Gyoro Gyoro, who was just like, Rover's not really rampaging anymore. It couldn't be. And of course, maybe that's what Nian will do. Maybe he'll bump into... at first I was like, maybe he'll bump into Gyoro Gyoro so he can actually, you know, tell him, like, you know, give some idea, because Gyoro Gyoro is suspicious about someone who's stronger than the S-Class heroes who they don't know about, and maybe that's how he'll know, or she'll know even. But it won't, because as we know, we get that little badass Tatsumaki. And what I love is... Obviously about One's art, obviously this whole chapter was really good, Darkshine was drawn really well, and something actually quickly about Darkshine was he made a note of, like, I have to keep going, otherwise my muscles will stop glistening. I wonder if there's something to do with his power, to do with muscles glistening, so, like, if he keeps working out, then that's what keeps him strong, but of course if he rests and stops, maybe his muscles grow weaker, like traditionally, but like to a much bigger extent, so like if he stops working out, it goes like super duper weak, but when he gets his pump back on, he's super duper strong. In any case, One's art, or Murata's art even, as I was trying to say before I got sidetracked, I love how he can even make Tatsumaki look badass like this. I love that panel of her in the shadows just being like, are you the boss? And it's just like, okay, here we go! Like, it's just the sign of, like, things are moving at this point. We're getting to the big fights. And it just keeps going, and obviously, you know, Gyoro Gyoro's like, so here you are, Tornado of Terror. And then she goes on to say, about how like this is a personal grudge as a psychic as well, and then their fight is about to begin, and that's where it ends. But I don't think we'll see the end of that fight just yet, because like that's how the story's been going like the past few chapters. Like fights, we've kind of cut between fights. So obviously like we have the A-class heroes versus, well, we have like the swordsman against Devil Longhair, then we had Neon versus Puri, which kind of got cut off to an extent with obviously the fight ending because it didn't really happen. And then these kind of fights are getting wiped off. So maybe we'll get to see a hero who hasn't really shown up do anything. Speaking of heroes who haven't shown up, I didn't even mention it. Genos is probably going to make his appearance really soon as well, because he takes note of the earthquake. And whether he notes that as either, you know, it's getting serious down there, I'll go down and help, or he's like, Master Saitama's down there, I'll go down and help him. Because that's the only explanation why he's been gone so long. Maybe it's going to be something like that, I imagine. But yes, overall, this chapter was sick. Like, Darkshine was incredibly impressive, just through and through. One of the strongest S-class heroes. I see why people have been building him up a bit too. I'm ready to see him in action. I'm ready to see all the S-class heroes get a proper fight who haven't had a proper fight, basically, just like all the others. Yes, but wow, what a guy. You know, Saitama was incredible because he's always been incredible. The fight was funny. Well, just like. Here's my question for you. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I'd like it if you do. So we've got Goketsu, we've got Elder Centipede, and now we've got Rover. Is Saitama going to beat all the executives? And I know Tatsumaki's up against Gyoro Gyoro, and to me personally, from what we've seen in Gyoro Gyoro and Tatsumaki, I think Tatsumaki can beat Gyoro Gyoro by herself. But maybe apart from Gyoro Gyoro, is he going to take down the rest of them? Is he going to take down Homeless Emperor, Gums, Black Sperm, and I get why everyone's like, Goro's going to beat Orochi because of that, but I'm still on the point of Saitama being able to beat Orochi because of the points I mentioned earlier with Rover, and how we always see the actions of what they can do before Saitama goes and one-punches them. Yeah. And then obviously we get that in the hype little ending that, you know, the real fights are starting now. We got like the tease of what all the S-class heroes can do. Now we get to see them in action against opponents that are going to give them a challenge. The Monster Association arc basically is thoroughly going underway from the next few chapters, as it should be at least. But yes, overall, like I said, love this chapter. It was very good. What did you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want to see more. Give it a like, you know the drill. And yeah, that's it. Goodbye. My boy's sick though. He's the best.